Welcome back to Cloud 2K, and this is the Cloud Report. So it has been like 3 days since the NBA trade deadline has passed, and I think by far the craziest NBA trade deadline I've ever been a part of. Probably actually in the history of the sport. It was insane. A lot of big names were moved. Some we kind of knew were coming. Some were completely out of nowhere. And I just figured this Sunday morning I'd come in, or I guess you guys will probably see this Sunday afternoon, but I figured just go in here and just kind of talk about each one of the trades, the bigger trades. There's a couple of little trades I might touch on for whatever reason, but just kind of talk about those trades, obviously answer some fan questions, and then we'll get up out of here because tonight is obviously the Super Bowl. Whoever you're rooting for, we just hope it's a really, really good game. Being a Cowboys fan, I can't help but root for the Chiefs. Do I really want the Chiefs to win? Not exactly, but I can't root for the Eagles, so you kind of have to, do what you got to do. But again, that's the NFL. This is an NBA mostly channel. Let's get the big one out of the way. We've been talking about it for the past week on multiple videos, so I don't want to spend a lot of time. It's obviously Luka, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris going to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. Again, a trade that broke the NBA world about a week ago now. Just they've been trying to give reasons. The Mavs front office has been trying to give reasons this past week why they did the trade. Again, I still think it was a dumb trade. I think most people agree it's a dumb trade. The Mavs fans just had a protest in their game where Anthony Davis had his first game as a Maverick, and he was really, really good. Did go down with a non-contact injury. I haven't heard any word about that, so hopefully Anthony Davis is okay. But he was looking phenomenal. He 26 and 14 or something like that into 3 quarters before he got hurt. Anthony Davis is a phenomenal player. Everybody knows this. I think most Mavs fans, they like AD, and they've already fell in love with Max Christie, who's been really, really good. None of what's been happening is because it's Anthony Davis. It's just that they traded Luka. Obviously, I don't need to sit here to harp on this. You guys have been hearing it for a week now. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think Mavs fans are going to love Anthony Davis. It's just, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get past what they gave up in order to get him. So, it's just it is what it is at this point in time. Still a crazy trade. The next trade, another big trade that I talked about on this channel. The Spurs get De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings get Zach LaVine, Sidy Cissoko, Sissoko, who's been traded 3 times since then. 2025 first-round pick via the Hornets, 2027 first-round pick via the Spurs, 2031 first-round pick via the Timberwolves, 3 second-round picks. The Bulls get Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, and they get their own pick back for this year. It was top 10 projected. They were going to be in top 10. So, that doesn't really do much for the Bulls. We talked about before, they made sure that, if they're the 11th pick, they still get it this year, but, they're probably going to be top 10. So, the Bulls front office for the past few years has been really, really bad. Their previous regime wasn't very good either, but they drafted decently well. This front office just consistently is bad. They had Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso on their team, and they traded all those guys away, and the only first-round pick they got was the right to their own this year. They got no first-round picks for Alex Caruso, nothing, I guess technically their own back for Zach LaVine, nothing for DeMar DeRozan, and Vucevic wasn't even traded. They couldn't even get a trade for Vucevic to go through. A complete malpractice, mispractice, whatever the hell you want to call it, for the Chicago Bulls front office, and this is another year where the Bulls just don't do much. And again, they get off of Zach LaVine, which I guess is a step in the tanking direction, but it's you didn't really get much for him. I don't think you really want Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, and Trey Jones on your team. Trey Jones is one of 6 point guards on the Bulls roster, and there's been reports that they potentially could give him a contract when his is up this year. I don't know what's going on in Chicago. It's really, really bad. For the Kings, bringing in Zach LaVine doesn't do much of anything. It's a pretty lateral move. He's averaging 7 3-point attempts a game this season, so he's gonna add some 3-point volume to a team that is near the bottom of the league in 3-point attempts, which is cool, but I don't think this trade makes them better or worse. I think it helps a very, very little bit with some of their issues, but it doesn't help at all with their defensive side of the ball that's really, really bad. So now it's Monk, LaVine, DeMar, Keegan Murray, and Sabonis. So Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray are doing anything they can on the defensive side of the ball to help the rest of the guys, because there's just not a lot of defense going on there. The 2025 first-round pick via the Hornets sounds, in theory, to be phenomenal, because they're going to be probably a top 5 pick this year, but it's lottery protected. They don't tell you that, so it's not going to convey. And I think if it doesn't convey this year, it turns into 2 second-round picks. So forget 3 first-round picks. It's basically 2 first-round picks and now 5 second-round picks. 2027 first via the Spurs. Well, everything's saying De'Aaron Fox wants to be there, so he's probably going to re-sign. And if you have De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, you're most likely going to be a good team. So that pick might be in the 20s. It's a swing pick. Okay, maybe somewhat value. You can get some good players in the 20s. So not a great pick, but you kind of take that as you go. 2031 first round pick via the Timberwolves is the one that's definitely the most enticing because at that point in time, Julius Randle's most likely gone. Rudy Gobert's most likely gone. Anthony Edwards might still be there. Rob Dillingham might still be there. Jaden McDaniels probably gone. Like, there's a real world that in 2031 the Timberwolves are bad or just not as good. Maybe it's a teens pick. You know what I mean? That's the one that definitely has the most, like, it could be this, it could be that. Like, I think that's probably the most valuable pick they got just because you don't know what the NBA is going to look like in 6 years. But again, just another line of just not good moves for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin go to the Spurs. He's looked pretty damn good as a Spur in these first couple games. They won a game. They just lost a game to the Hornets where he got the game-winning shot off, he made the game-winning shot, but he didn't get it off in time, so didn't count. I think De'Aaron Fox is a guy that, the past couple years doesn't get to the rim nearly as much as he did earlier in his career. He takes a lot of pull-up mid-ranges now, but I think you need a point guard with a lot of rim pressure next to Victor Wembanyama, a guy who can really shoot from anywhere. I think he's like 4th or 5th the most 30-plus feet three-pointers made this season. Like, he definitely can stretch the floor. But if you can get a version of De'Aaron Fox that can get back into the paint, create that rim pressure, the kick, like the driving kick, I think it's going to be huge for the Spurs team. And again, I think part of the reason that the attempts at the rim went down for De'Aaron Fox is that they got a Sabonis down at the center spot that really doesn't stretch the floor much at all. So now having a center that can fully stretch the floor, I think we might see a more aggressive version of De'Aaron Fox. Another big trade. The Hornets swap picks with the Thunder. A couple second-round picks, don't really care. Caleb Martin gets traded to the Mavs, and the Sixers receive Quentin Grimes and a 2025 second-round pick. I didn't really get this one either, because Caleb Martin's probably going to be out for like 3 to 4 weeks with his injury. You traded a 24-year-old Quentin Grimes for a 29-year-old Caleb Martin, but you just did that with Anthony Davis. You traded a 25-year-old Luka for about to be 32-year-old Anthony Davis. So it seems like, yes, the Mavs are trying to load up on the defensive side of the ball, but you're also getting considerably older with multiple of these trades. So they're really limiting their window to about a 2 to 3 year window. And that's never really a good thing. You kind of want to have a larger window. Maybe, they look pretty damn good. Caleb Martin didn't play in the game yesterday against the Rockets. But again, Anthony Davis looked really, really good. So, I don't know. The Mavs front office is still going through a really, really weird stretch. And I don't want to harp on it too much because we kind of let them have it for about a week straight. Again, a bit of a weird trade. Caleb Martin's not making a lot of money. It is like a 4-year deal, but it's only like maybe $30 million total, maybe not even quite that. So you're not paying Caleb Martin a lot of money. So if he can be a good version of a role player, I guess you take it, but still a bit of a weird trade. Daniel Tice gets traded with a second-round pick for cash considerations, whatever. The Kings are back in another trade. They trade City Sissoko again. He gets traded with him and 2 future second-round picks to the Washington Wizards for Jonas Valanciunas. So the Kings get a backup center because Alex Len was their backup center. Trey Lyles was taking some minutes. Neither one of them are very good. Valanciunas is an upgrade over Alex Len, but not much of an upgrade. Like, both, still no defense. Valanciunas is not a rim protector in the slightest. A slow-footed center. Like, he's gonna be fine in the minutes he plays behind Domantas Sabonis, but he doesn't bring any defensive pressure that you need at that backup center spot because Sabonis isn't exactly a all defensive type of center. You know what I mean? So I guess again they get talent wise a little bit better, but it doesn't really work on any of the needs they have. Like, especially again the defense side of the ball. The Kings definitely made some moves, but I don't think it really did much of anything. The Celtics trade Jaden Springer to the Rockets with 2 second-round picks for a 2031 second-round pick, and I think they also, the Rockets waived him. So I really hope this isn't it for Jaden Springer because he's definitely shown some flashes, and he's a young guy with the Boston Celtics. So I would hate for like him and like Jalen Hood-Schifino and some of these guys that got waived for their careers to kind of just be done for now because I definitely think they've shown some value. At least with Jalen Hood-Schifino, hasn't really shown a lot, but he's like, 2021? First-round pick last year. Like, I think these guys definitely deserve a shot somewhere on like a Brooklyn Nets maybe type of team. That's just me, though. The Wizards trade Jared Butler, 2027, 2028 second-round picks, and then 2 second-round picks in 2030 for Reggie Jackson and a 2026 first-round pick. I think it was protected. And then I think they ended up waiving Reggie Jackson anyway. The Wizards did a pretty good job this deadline of bringing in a lot of like second-round picks. They got Kuzma out the door. They got Valanciunas out the door, and they brought in a lot of second-round picks. This was not a trade deadline that a lot of first-round picks were moved. I mean, Luka got moved for 1 first-round pick And then there was another first round pick that we have to talk about later because the trade ended up not going through. But this year was definitely a second round pick deadline. So the fact that the Wizards were able to bring in multiple second round picks throughout their multiple deals, again, I think the Wizards had a pretty good trade deadline, all things considered, of kind of like what the value was out there. The Hawks, Cody Zeller, I mean, just for some draft rights, cool. Don't really have much about that. James Wiseman and cash considerations to the Raptors for 2026 second round pick. I think he might have got waived, or he is definitely still hurt. So shout out James Wiseman. The Sixers trade KJ Martin and a 2027 second round pick via the Bucks and a 2031 second round pick via the Mavs for cash considerations. The Pistons just take a flyer on a guy that's had some good moments this season, and they definitely need more wing help. So just a solid Pistons have just. The Pistons didn't do a lot, but they bring in KJ Martin, they bring in a Dennis Schroeder, who are just gonna get a little bit of minutes. They didn't bring in high minute guys, but they kind of have their rotation, so I think pretty solid. These Suns trade Cody Martin and Micic in a 2026 second round pick for Jusuf Nurkic in a 2026 first round pick, again protected. Cody Martin's a guy that I think is gonna be pretty good on the Suns. He's not gonna get a lot of minutes, but he's definitely gonna give you some wing time, some wing minutes that they desperately need. Jusuf Nurkic is not good. They have Mason Plumlee, they have Nick Richards, they have Iguodaro. I always mispronounce his name. The rookie Osa. They have their three centers. So bringing in a wing like Cody Martin, Micic, I don't know if he's gonna get much playtime at all with Monte Morris, with Tyus Jones in that, and obviously Devin Booker in that backcourt. He's not very good either. He can't really shoot the ball, but Cody Martin, I think, is a very solid pickup for the Suns. Not going to do a lot, but going to give them some valuable minutes. And they get out the door a Nurkic that was just not very good. And then, obviously, again, Dennis Schroeder got traded multiple times. Lindy Waters ends up as a Piston. This is all a small part of the Jimmy Butler trade coming up. Future second-round pick via the Warriors. The Jazz received K.J. Martin, who I forgot K.J. Martin got traded from the Pistons. That's on me. I completely forgot that happened. There was like 3 or 4 people that got moved multiple times, so it kind of got a little hard towards the end of it to kind of keep up on that. But shout out Dennis Schroeder, man. I mean, maybe, because he's been kind of weird recently. He made a comment about comparing the trade deadline, and then he also got mad at the Warriors for not giving him his own post for leaving, even though he was only there for like 2 months. So Dennis Schroeder's been kind of weird recently. I don't know what's going on with that. And then obviously PJ Tucker ends up in the Raptors with 2026 second round pick via the Heat, and then the Heat get Davion Mitchell, who, I mean, could play some minutes. They need point guard play, so that kind of makes sense. The Bucks get Kevin Porter Jr. from the Clippers, and the Clippers get MarJon Beauchamp. I'm not a fan of Kevin Porter Jr. for a lot of stuff that he's done off the court. On the court, he has his moments, but again, is not a very good player on the court either. So it's kind of easy to not be a fan of Kevin Porter Jr. But MarJon wasn't really playing much, so I guess the Clippers might give him an opportunity. But the Clippers are in the playoff hunt, so he still might not get an opportunity there. Kevin Porter Jr., whatever, man. The Clippers get Bogdan Bogdanovic, and the Hawks get Terrence Mann, Bones Highland, 2025 second round pick, 2026 second round pick, and a 2027 second round pick. Now, the Hawks have already waived Bones Highland, so he's not going to be part of this trade. Terrence Mann isn't that great of a player, but Bogdan Bogdanovic has also been really, really bad this year. Maybe he gets to LA and can start shooting the ball again, and that would be something. That would be something for that Clippers team. But the Hawks were just kind of getting off his contract, and definitely were some interesting trades from the Hawks this trade deadline where they just kind of were getting off some players, which you can't really be mad at that. One of the bigger trades, it was a decent trade, but this kind of got worked out. They looks like they consolidated it into like one thing here because it was multiple trades kind of put together here. At the end of it, though, the Bucks end up with Kyle Kuzma, Jericho Sims, a 2025 second-round pick, a 2026 second-round pick. The Wizards end up with Chris Middleton and A.J. Johnson, who I think A.J. Johnson is a very, very underrated pickup for the Wizards. A 2028 first-round pick swap. And the Knicks end up with DeLon Wright, and then draft rights to Hugo and cash considerations. Pretty much the only thing the Knicks did was get DeLon Wright, so shout out to the Knicks, man. They think they're pretty good. The Spurs get Patrick Baldwin Jr. and cash considerations. Kyle Kuzma needed to leave the Wizards, man. He made the comment like a week or two ago that he was not there to help develop the young guys, that he just wanted to get his. It was clear he needed to go. They bring in a Chris Middleton back to the Washington Wizards, who seems like they want him to help develop their young guys in Bilal and stuff like that. And I think Chris Middleton could be a good guy to help develop, as long as with another guy they got a little bit later in the deadline we'll get to here in a second. The thing about Kyle Kuzma versus Chris Middleton is that Kyle Kuzma has I think one more guaranteed year, because Chris Middleton has this year and then he has a $34 million player option next season, where this year it's like $23 million for Kyle Kuzma, about 21 next season, then has an extra year, but it's only $19 million. So this definitely helped the Bucks get under the second apron. I believe it got them under the second apron. Again, you add a year to it, but it's less money than Chris Middleton. And maybe you would have tried to re-sign Chris Middleton, but it probably would have been more than $20 million, I would assume, just because he's been there for so long. So, I know a lot of Bucks fans are upset about losing Middleton for Kyle Kuzma, but money-wise, unfortunately, it's how the NBA works. Money-wise, it was a better trade for them. This is a trade that just got attention again because it has been rescinded. The Lakers trade Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 unprotected first-round pick, and a 2030 pick swap to the Hornets for Mark Williams. It was debating on if Mark Williams is going to play Saturday, but they're like, it hasn't happened yet. Maybe he plays Monday when Luka's supposed to play. And then it comes out last night, the NBA has rescinded the trade because Mark Williams, for lack of a better term, Mark Williams failed his physical, and they're saying it wasn't his back. It could have been his foot. It could have been something else. But, so this trade isn't happening. Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish are both going back to LA. LA gets their 2031 first-round pick back. And honestly, as a Lakers fan, I'm not mad at this because I thought Dalton Knecht, again, had a good stretch in the beginning of the season, but it hasn't been great throughout the rest of his rookie year. But trading Dalton Knecht, a rookie, and a 2031 unprotected first-round pick for a injury-prone Mark Williams was never a good trade in my eyes. I know a lot of Lakers fans were up in it because, frankly, we don't have a center now outside. Mark Williams was going to be our starting center because we have, Jackson Hayes, Christian Kolokolo. We just don't really have center. We don't have center play. And I know this is going to be a big deal that we're losing center play, but I think going into the offseason, Dalton Knecht in a first-round pick could get you much more than a Mark Williams. I was hoping for more of a Robert Williams type of thing. But, yeah, I guess the Lakers saw something in the physical that was like, okay, we do not want this guy on our roster for years to come, so we're setting it back. The Cavs get DeAndre Hunter. The Hawks get Karis LeVert, Georges Niang, 3 second-round picks and 2 first-round swaps. DeAndre Hunter's been really, really good this season, and I think for a long time was the leader for 6th player of the year. He definitely was dealing with some injuries recently, but I think he could start the 3 for the Cavs, bring defense, bring shooting, or he can just go back to being a bench player where they're still trying to figure out that Okoro, Max Strus at the 3, and just let DeAndre Hunter rock out with the second unit. Again, wouldn't be a bad idea. I think getting DeAndre Hunter to a winning culture like the Cavs might help him out. Again, injuries are just kind of injuries. I don't think winning helps with injuries. Maybe, I don't know. But I think a locked-in DeAndre Hunter on a winning team, this is a really, really good pickup for the Cavs. Josh Richardson, KJ Martin, again, get traded he got traded to the Jazz. Lindy Waters, Dennis Schroeder, again, to get to the Pistons. We kind of already went through this whole thing. Feel like we don't have to, but this is, we already talked about those players, but again, this is the bigger part of the Jimmy Butler trade. Jimmy Butler ends up with 2 second-round picks and cash considerations on the Golden State Warriors. The Miami Heat get Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Davion Mitchell, and a 2025 protected first-round pick via the Warriors. They tried to move Kyle Anderson to the Raptors, but that part fell through, so it looks like Kyle Anderson is just going to be a Miami Heat. And honestly, I think Wiggins, Anderson, and Davion Mitchell is in a protected first-round pick is a fine return for a guy like Jimmy Butler, who for the past 2 months has been doing anything he can to get out of the Miami Heat. He's been suspended, 3 times? I think 3 times has been suspended from the Heat. So it's like, this was going to happen. We all knew it was going to happen. He completely has tanked his whatever trade value he had left with all this stuff going on off the court, or technically on the court, you know what I mean? So you get a good player in Andrew Wiggins back. You get a fine bench player in Kyle Anderson back. You get a okay backup point guard in Davion Mitchell on a team that really needs point guard play. Yes, you're losing Jimmy Butler, the best player to trade, of course. But I think you got 3 solid players back, and you know what I mean? I think you have to take this. I think you have to take this if you're the Heat. After everything that's just happened, you cannot just take the punches of the Jimmy Butler trade and move on from it. Another trade that happened that same day that I think honestly flew under my radar was Brandon Ingram ending up in the Toronto Raptors. There's been talks that he could end up being a Miami Heat or Toronto Raptor, and honestly, it happened at midnight. I was actually asleep when it happened. I woke up in the morning, I was like, oh shit, Brandon Ingram got traded for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a first-round pick and a second-round pick. I'm definitely interested to see how the Raptors look. It's going to be a fully healthy lineup is like a Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and a Jakob Poeltl. A fine team, not a great team, but that's some good players, especially the way RJ Barrett's been playing this season. Like, I think that's a fine playoff team in the Eastern Conference. I still think they're a piece or two away from really you looking at this team as maybe they could contend. And again, they're going to have a top draft pick this year, so maybe that helps in that situation. But I still think they need point guard play. I think they could probably use an upgrade over Jakob Poeltl. I just think it's a fine swing, man. If you're the Raptors, it's like we have our guys. It's like, is Scotty Barnes really going to be a 1A? We don't really know. We don't think RJ Barrett's a 1A, but he's been playing pretty good. Is Brandon Ingram a 1A? I don't think so, but I think it's enough of like a it does kind of remind me of the Pelicans a little bit, where it's like we have a collection of just good players and you're waiting for that guy to be great. And again, that could be Scotty Barnes. I think out of that team, it is going to be Scotty Barnes, but it's, he needs to be gone from the Pelicans. The Pelicans have been a dumpster fire for quite a while now. So it's like, let them get out of there. They didn't trade as many people as I thought they would down in New Orleans. Zion Williamson survived the deadline. DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, these guys all survived the trade deadline. So I don't know. I guess they're just opening up minutes for Trey Murphy III, who has been phenomenal recently. And then the last trade we're going to talk about is the Washington Wizards getting Marcus Smart, Colby Jones, Alex Len, and a 2025 first-round pick via the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies get 2 second-round picks, Marvin Bagley, Johnny Davis, and the Kings get Jake LaRavia. Jake LaRavia was one of the few pickups by the Kings this offseason, or this trade deadline. This makes a lot of sense. He's like a 3-4 hybrid. He can shoot the ball. He can play some decent like, he's just a fine connecting piece for the Kings off that bench. I think by far definitely the best fitting, kind of acquisition they made. The Grizzlies, they get off of Marcus Smart, who basically wasn't ever playing. He was always hurt, wasn't playing really well. So get off of him, get 2 second-round picks. But for the Wizards, Marcus Smart is going to be a mentor. And the videos already came out of him helping Jordan Poole before that game. Like, between Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart, I think are 2 good veterans to have on his young Washington Wizards team, especially with the Bilal Coulibaly, who Marcus Smart could really help lock into being one of the better perimeter defenders in the entire league. I mean, maybe you can help the other guys, you know what I mean? Chris Middleton could help a Keyshawn George. Like, you have some good young talent on this team that I think these 2 veterans could really, really help out. I think it's a phenomenal pickup by the Wizards. I think the Wizards were very underratedly a winner of this trade deadline. They didn't get the big stars, but I think they definitely put themselves in the right direction. Okay, so we have our fan question of the week. This week comes from Levi, Tennessee. Besides the Luka and Fox trades, what trade do you think had the biggest impact? And I mean, it's Jimmy Butler for sure. We've been talking for the past month about Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Draymond Green all saying that they don't want to mortgage the future of the Warriors to try to do one last hoorah for Steph Curry. And do I think Jimmy Butler comes in and is that one last hoorah? No, I don't. I don't think this team is any closer to a championship now than they were before. I mean, maybe a little bit because Jimmy Butler is the better player out of the group, but between Andrew Wiggins and all them, he was the best player in the trade, so yes, it makes them better. But in the Western Conference, I don't see them really making much noise, unfortunately. Playoff Jimmy Butler is a real thing, and maybe he can tap back into that and they go on some type of run. I don't really see it happening. But again, just for player-wise, Jimmy Butler was the best player traded outside of Luka, AD, De'Aaron Fox, maybe even Zach LaVine, depending on how you look at this season. So I think giving Steph Curry one more attempt at a running mate for a championship run definitely is the biggest impact. But again, I just talked in this video, I think the Wizards did a really, really good job bringing in veterans, moving out veterans that didn't want to help the team and bringing in veterans that could help the team. So yeah, I think it's got to be either the Jimmy Butler trade or just the way the Washington Wizards attacked this kind of trade deadline. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm on the road to 500 subs, and I'm getting really, really close. It's been a really, really good start to 2025, so let's keep it going. Hit that button. I'll see you guys later. Peace.